What if one day, the simplest action, standing up, became an impossible task? You don't think about it now. You rise from a chair without hesitation, move through your home with ease, and trust that your body will always respond the way it should. But what if that changed? What if, little by little, you lost that ability without even realizing it? One moment, you're moving freely. The next, you're struggling, needing something, someone, just to get up. This isn't something that happens overnight. It's a slow, silent shift, so subtle that most people don't notice until it's too late. First, you need to push off the chair a little harder. Then, you hold onto a table for support. Eventually, every movement feels like a battle against a body that no longer listens. And here's the truth no one talks about. The difference between those who age with strength, dignity, and independence and those who become prisoners in their own bodies comes down to one thing: taking action before the decline begins. In this video, I'm going to show you the critical markers that separate those who maintain their autonomy from those who lose it. We'll uncover the first signs of decline that most people ignore, and more importantly, I'll give you the simple but powerful steps to ensure that your body remains strong and capable for years to come. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do to protect yourself from one of the most devastating and preventable losses of aging. Don't wait until you're struggling. Start now, while you still have the power to change your future. Let's begin. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. The first and most profound distinction between those who age with dignity and independence and those who become prisoners within the confines of their own bodies is the ability to rise without hesitation. It may seem deceptively simple, even trivial, like a routine motion we perform without thought. But take a moment to look around, and you'll notice how many people, your peers, your friends, even your loved ones, can no longer do what you still take for granted. The loss of autonomy does not strike all at once like a thunderclap. It creeps in gradually, softly, almost imperceptibly. It begins with a subtle shift, when you realize that getting up from a chair is no longer effortless, that you need something to hold on to for support, a crutch of sorts, to make it through the motion. Then, you try to climb a staircase, and the weight in your legs feels almost unbearable, as if you're dragging a heavy chain with every step, the once nimble body now burdened. In what feels like the blink of an eye, a simple misstep becomes a catastrophic fall, and suddenly, each movement is a fierce, exhausting struggle against a body that no longer listens to your commands, a body that betrays you. It is in these excruciating moments, the kind no one ever truly anticipates, that the harshest realization sets in. Something irreplaceable has been lost: freedom. The freedom to move through your day without depending on others, to rise, to walk, to simply be. The cruelest mistake is believing this fate is something that happens to others, that aging only steals from the weak, from those who are already fragile. But the reality is that it only takes one injury, one brief period of immobility for everything to begin unraveling. The human body was built to move. When that movement stops, the muscles that once carried you through life begin to waste away. The joints that once bent with grace stiffen and lock, as if they're betraying you. And the most heart-wrenching part of it all? It happens in complete silence, without any warning. It's a slow, invisible theft of vitality. Right now, you can get up without thinking. You don't hesitate. You don't feel the weight of your own body as a burden. But that doesn't mean it will always be this way. If you don't make a conscious effort to preserve this simple yet profound ability, tomorrow may bring a different story. And when the day comes that you can no longer rise from your bed without help, it will be too late to turn back time. You can't reverse what's been lost. If you can still stand up without hesitation, count yourself among the fortunate few. Many have already lost this gift and would give anything to relive those precious moments of movement, to reclaim the ability to rise, unassisted, without the fear of collapse. But this question is not just about today, it's about the years to come. Can you still rise with ease 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Or will you let aging rob you of the one thing that matters most? The ability to remain independent, to live life on your own terms. The choice is yours, and it's here, right now. Because if you don't fight to keep this ability, there will come a day when you wake up to find it's already gone. And when that day comes, no amount of regret will ever return what's been lost. The second powerful marker that distinguishes those who age with dignity and autonomy from those who are slowly shackled by their own frailty is the strength within their hands. It may seem like a trivial detail, something so small and seemingly insignificant that it doesn't even cross your mind on a regular day. After all, hands are meant to be there for us, doing the work, carrying the weight of our lives without question. But when the strength in your hands begins to fade, it changes the very fabric of your existence in ways you cannot fathom. One moment, you're opening a jar of peanut butter with ease, and the next, it becomes an impossible task, leaving you frustrated and helpless. Suddenly, the simple action of holding a glass of water becomes a challenge. You're afraid you might spill it, or worse, drop it altogether. Gripping a shopping bag that once seemed light and easy now feels like carrying a sack of bricks. It's in these seemingly insignificant moments that you realize how much you've taken your hand's strength for granted. What many don't realize, until it's far too late, is that losing strength in your hands is not just a natural sign of aging. No, it's a warning. It's your body's quiet plea for help, a sign that your autonomy is slowly slipping away from you. And the worst part is, it usually happens without you even noticing. At first, you might feel a small, nagging discomfort when holding objects for too long, an ache that you brush off as nothing. You tell yourself it's just a bad day or that maybe you've been overexerting yourself. But as time passes, that discomfort doesn't go away. Instead, it begins to deepen, and soon, you find yourself struggling to do things that were once effortless. Then, the warning signs become more obvious. You notice the weakness in your handshake. You know it's not as firm as it used to be. You feel a sense of shame when someone shakes your hand, because you can't muster the strength that once conveyed confidence and power. It's a subtle shift, but it's powerful. And before you know it, you're unable to open a simple bottle of pills without assistance, or you can't hold a grocery bag without your fingers trembling with exhaustion. You need help with things you never imagined you would. That's when you realize just how much control you've lost. Your hands, which were once a source of strength and independence, have betrayed you. Now, you need others to help you perform the most basic tasks: eating, holding a utensil, brushing your hair, or simply gripping a cup of coffee. Imagine for a moment that version of yourself, the one who can't carry their own bags, the one who struggles with the simple act of holding a fork. It's a gut-wrenching thought. You may think it's impossible now, that you're too strong, too capable. But what if tomorrow, or next week, or in a few years, you lose the ability to perform these small actions? Will you even notice it in time to make a difference? If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. If you are still able to grasp objects with strength, to open jars with ease, to carry the weight of your life without help, understand that you are in a rare position. This is not something that will last forever if you don't actively preserve it. Each day, without consciously maintaining your grip, without using your hands and keeping them active, you're losing precious strength. It doesn't happen in a dramatic, sudden way. It's slow, imperceptible, like the tide gradually eroding the shore. And when the day comes that you realize your hands are no longer strong enough to serve you in the ways they once did, it may already be too late. You can't go back and undo the loss. Regret will not bring your strength back. And even worse, you'll face the truth that you let it slip away, bit by bit, without truly understanding how much it mattered. The body doesn't send out warnings when it's about to give up on you. It doesn't scream for help. It simply starts to give in. First the hands, then the legs, the back, and before you know it, the whole body has become a shell of what it used to be. And when that day comes, when you find yourself unable to perform the most basic actions, there will be nothing you can do but look back and wonder why you didn't take action sooner. So ask yourself, will your hands still be strong enough to carry your independence in 5 years? 10 years? Will you wake up one day and find that you've lost something that seems so permanent, so untouchable? That your strength has faded away, leaving you dependent on others for the things you once did for yourself with ease? The time to act is now. Because if you don't make the effort to protect what you have, that day will come all too soon, and you won't be able to get back what's already been lost. The third defining factor that separates those who age with dignity, strength, and autonomy from those who fall victim to dependence and vulnerability is the ability to maintain balance. Balance, a seemingly simple and taken for granted ability, is actually one of the cornerstones of independence in older age. You may not notice it now, perhaps because it feels so natural and effortless to you, but when balance starts to slip away, it can become one of the most insidious and perilous challenges of aging. At first, it's a minor issue, a slight wobble when you stand up too quickly, a brief stumble here and there. It doesn't seem serious. It's nothing more than a momentary loss of coordination, something you brush off as part of normal life. But, as the days go on, and the years accumulate, there will come a time when that small moment of imbalance will become something much more dangerous. One day, without warning or any indication, your feet will fail you. Your legs will no longer respond as they once did, and before you can even think, you'll find yourself falling, unable to catch yourself, unable to brace for impact. At that moment, everything changes, your world, your life, and your sense of self. A single fall can result in a broken bone, a fractured hip, a severe injury that alters everything in an instant. One simple misstep can transform an active, independent life into an existence of fear and limitations, confined to a chair or a bed, unable to move freely. This is the cold, hard reality that many face as they age, yet it is a reality that few are truly prepared for. What most people don't realize is that the ability to maintain balance doesn't just vanish overnight. It doesn't go from full stability to complete lack of control all at once. Instead, balance fades slowly and quietly, like sand slipping through the cracks of your fingers, barely noticeable at first. The first few signs might appear as minor inconveniences, being a little off-center when standing up, feeling a little unsteady on your feet when walking up or down stairs. These small changes seem trivial, insignificant. But as time passes, they compound. The loss of balance is often a result of a sedentary lifestyle, a lack of movement, and the natural weakening of muscles and joints over time. This gradual loss is the silent decay that creeps in without fanfare. You start avoiding stairs because you're afraid of tripping. The risk of falling feels more real, more pressing than ever before. Then, you begin leaning on furniture when walking around the house, instinctively reaching for something to steady yourself, unable to trust your legs to hold you up. With each passing day, you notice yourself taking fewer risks, moving more carefully, and ultimately, you begin to feel like your own body is betraying you. Your home, which once felt like a space where you could move freely, now becomes a maze of objects to cling to for support. You fear falling when you go outside. Something so simple, so essential to your independence, now becomes a cause for anxiety. You can't help but think about the possibility of losing control, of finding yourself flat on the floor, unable to get up. And then, the most difficult and heartbreaking realization sets in: dependence. The realization that you need someone else to help you move around, to steady you when you walk, because you no longer trust your body to support you. It's the worst kind of loss, the loss of trust in your own strength, the surrendering of your autonomy. You never thought you'd be in this position, the person who needs assistance for something as simple as walking across the room, who fears taking a step without someone at their side. If you still have the ability to walk confidently, to move without fear, to stand tall and steady, then you are in an incredibly privileged position. You may not realize how precious this is until it's gone. But ask yourself, will that confidence last? Will you still be able to walk freely, unburdened by fear, in 5 or 10 years? Or will you wake up one day to find that you no longer have the strength, balance, or confidence to navigate your own home, your own life? Time doesn't wait for anyone. It doesn't show mercy to those who fail to prepare. One day, you're walking freely, feeling secure in your movements. The next, you find yourself reaching for a cane to steady yourself, unable to rely on your own body to stay upright. And soon, that cane becomes a permanent fixture, and you begin to feel more and more confined within your own space. The stairs become a daunting obstacle, the sidewalk a threat, and your world shrinks, not because your body is incapable of doing more, but because the risk of falling outweighs the benefits of movement. You realize that without balance, everything changes. The world becomes a place of danger, and every step feels like a calculated risk. You become bound to your home, unwilling or unable to venture outside, fearing the fall that could forever alter your life. Balance doesn't simply disappear in an instant. It's a slow erosion, a gradual loss that happens over time. It's not until you look back and realize how much you've lost that you understand how critical it is to preserve it. Once it's gone, once you've lost your balance and the confidence to move safely, it's incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to regain it. So, ask yourself, 5 years from now, will you still walk with ease, moving through your life with the same confidence you have today? Will you still be able to navigate the world on your own? Or will you wake up one morning and find that the freedom to move has slipped through your fingers, quietly, without you even noticing? If you don't take action now, if you don't prepare, then one day, you'll wake up and realize that your independence has been taken from you, not by someone else, but by the gradual loss of balance, the slow but inevitable march of time. And when that day comes, no amount of regret will bring back what's been lost. The time to act is now, before it's too late. The fourth defining factor that separates those who age with autonomy and independence from those who become prisoners of their own fragility is the ability to see well. Vision is not just a sense, it's the delicate, fragile thread that holds together your connection to the world around you. The thin line that separates you from a life of independence and a life ruled by fear and dependency. At first, you notice that reading the newspaper requires you to hold it just a little further away. The words begin to blur and lose their sharpness, the once crisp letters dissolving into a haze. Then, driving at night becomes a daunting challenge, a risk you once never thought twice about, now turning into an obstacle you can't ignore. Suddenly, without warning, you find yourself tripping over steps that you can no longer see clearly, misjudging the distance between objects that once seemed so easy to navigate. In an instant, your vision is no longer what it used to be. And from that point on, every day becomes an unspoken threat, a constant reminder that you're walking through a world that is slowly slipping out of focus. A staircase that's too close to the edge, a rug that's out of place, or even something as simple as a glass of water sitting at the wrong angle. All of these innocuous objects become potential dangers, hiding risks that could lead to a fall, an accident, or even a hospitalization. What many don't understand about losing vision is that it doesn't just rob you of the ability to read, to see faces clearly, or to recognize the world with the same vivid clarity. No, it takes away something far more insidious, your confidence. One moment, you're walking down the street, trying to cross a busy avenue, and suddenly you're filled with hesitation. Fear creeps in. You no longer feel sure of yourself, no longer trust your own steps. And when that fear takes root, it begins to eat away at everything around you. Your sense of security, your sense of independence, your ability to navigate your own life. With each blurry image, each distorted number, each word you can no longer read without squinting or straining your eyes, a little piece of your autonomy slips away. Simple tasks that were once second nature now require effort and dependence on others, whether it's organizing your home, picking out your clothes, or even choosing what to cook for dinner. You begin to depend on others for tasks you never imagined you would need help with. The joy of living independently begins to fade, and what once felt like a life of possibility and freedom starts to feel like a life of limitations and restrictions. Slowly, subtly, you become someone who is vulnerable, isolated and unable to move with confidence, to act with certainty, to see clearly the life you once took for granted. If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. If you can still see well, if you can distinguish things at a distance without effort, if you can read the newspaper or recognize a friend across the street without hesitation, Consider it a privilege that many people would give anything to have. It is something that, all too easily, can be taken from you without warning. Vision doesn't fail suddenly, like a light switching off. It creeps in, little by little, and before you know it, you've lost something fundamental. By the time you realize the extent of the decline, it may already be too late to recover what you once had. So ask yourself, in 5 years, will you still see the world clearly? Will you still be able to enjoy the beauty around you, to walk through the world with the same confidence and certainty you have today? Or will you wake up one day, only to find that your vision is betraying you, that the world around you has turned into an invisible, threatening blur? Time doesn't give warnings when it decides to take something from you. It doesn't stop to check if you're ready. When it takes something, whether it's your vision, your strength, or your independence, it doesn't give it back. Once it's gone, it's gone. And when that day comes, you'll look back, wishing you had protected your sight, wishing you had done more to preserve the ability to see clearly. But by then, it will be too late. The time to act is now, before the world around you starts to fade into the distance, before vision becomes a thing of the past. The fifth powerful distinction that sets apart those who age with dignity and autonomy from those who fall victim to their own fragility is the ability to chew and swallow without difficulty. This ability is so intrinsic to our daily lives, so basic, that we often take it for granted, something that seems permanent, something that will always be there. But the harsh truth is that, over time, this fundamental skill begins to deteriorate slowly, often without us even noticing. At first, it's a mild discomfort when swallowing drier foods, a little difficulty chewing tougher cuts of meat or fibrous vegetables. These small inconveniences don't seem alarming. They feel like the sort of thing that comes with aging, something you brush off as a minor nuisance. But as the years go on, the discomfort intensifies. What once felt manageable becomes more challenging. Soon, you find yourself choking more often, avoiding certain foods altogether, and becoming fearful of eating something as simple as a piece of bread, something that was once a routine part of every meal. The moment arrives when you find yourself gasping for air, realizing with a jolt that something so basic, so essential, has suddenly become a real, tangible threat. What many don't fully comprehend is that losing the ability to chew and swallow properly doesn't just affect your ability to eat. It chips away at the very foundation of your independence. When you can no longer eat on your own, when every meal becomes a battle, a risk, a moment of fear, what is left of your freedom? What once was a simple act, something done without thought or hesitation, becomes a constant struggle, a reminder of what is slipping away. You begin to rely on softer foods, liquids, and meals that require little to no effort to consume. But this dependency doesn't stop there. As swallowing becomes more and more difficult, the body's natural response is to reject certain foods, to refuse to process the nourishment that once fueled you. You begin to lose weight, slowly, almost imperceptibly, and with that loss comes an erosion of energy, a dwindling of strength. The toll it takes is both physical and emotional. What started as an occasional choking episode, something small and easily ignored, transforms into a sentence of fragility, one that gradually pushes you further toward inevitable decline. When you can no longer eat the foods that once sustained you, when every meal feels like a gamble, something so fundamental to your existence is stolen from you. And the worst part is, it happens silently, without warning, until one day you realize that eating has become a monumental task, a chore rather than a pleasure. If you can still chew and swallow without hesitation, without effort, know that this is a gift, a precious gift that many have already lost. It may seem trivial now, but in reality, it is one of the most significant markers of your independence. If you still enjoy the simple pleasure of savoring a meal, of eating with ease, consider it a privilege. But how much longer will this last? The body doesn't announce when it begins to fail. It doesn't issue a warning, doesn't send a memo. It simply stops functioning the way it once did. Today, you can enjoy your food, chew without pain, and relish the act of eating. But ask yourself, will it be the same in 5 years? Will you still be able to enjoy a meal without fear of choking, without hesitation? Or will you become one of the many who, one day, realize too late that they can't even control their own body in something as simple as eating? The loss of this ability isn't something that happens suddenly, but rather gradually, until one day it becomes a profound, insurmountable obstacle. Time is relentless and cruel to those who don't take care to prepare. It doesn't wait, doesn't show mercy. When the loss comes, it doesn't offer any chances for a do-over, no opportunities for redemption. You can't reverse what's already been taken from you. Once the ability to chew and swallow slips away, you find yourself trapped in a new reality, one where even the most basic acts of nourishment become sources of frustration, fear, and dependence. When that day comes, you'll be left to accept what's been lost, to come to terms with the fact that something that once came so naturally, so effortlessly, is now beyond your control. So, ask yourself, will you be able to chew and swallow with ease in 5 years, 10 years? Will you still be able to enjoy the meals you love, the foods that nourish you, or will you wake up one day to the crushing realization that this simple, fundamental task has been taken from you, leaving you more vulnerable, more dependent than ever before? The time to prepare is now. Because when the loss comes, it will be too late to regain what was once so simple, so effortless. And by then, no regret will bring back what has slipped away. The sixth defining factor that separates those who maintain their autonomy in old age from those who become prisoners of their own decline is something so deceptively simple, yet so profoundly life-altering: the ability to go to the bathroom alone. It's a subject wrapped in silence, something rarely discussed even among those who have faced the deepest struggles of aging. And yet, it is one of the most significant, heartbreaking transitions a person can endure. The truth is brutal. When you lose control over this most basic function, you don't just lose convenience. You lose a fundamental piece of your independence, your confidence, your identity. At first, it seems like nothing. A minor inconvenience. Maybe you start noticing a little more urgency than before, an occasional struggle to hold it in when you once could. Perhaps you dismiss it as a temporary issue, something caused by drinking too much water, by getting older, by stress. It's easy to ignore, to laugh it off. But then, the accidents start. A sudden sneeze, a deep belly laugh, an unexpected cough, and suddenly, your body betrays you. You rush to the bathroom, heart pounding, hoping no one noticed. You tell yourself it was a fluke, a one-time thing. But it isn't. Slowly, the problem grows. You start making mental notes about where every bathroom is, avoiding long walks, long car rides, long conversations. Then, one day, you don't make it in time, and the shame washes over you like a wave of fire. The first time it happens, you're horrified. You scramble to clean up, to hide the evidence. You tell yourself it won't happen again, that you just need to be more careful. But deep down, a quiet fear begins to take root. What if this is just the beginning? If you are still watching this video, and find these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And then, the day comes when you have no choice but to make changes. Maybe it's carrying an extra pair of underwear, then eventually adult diapers. Maybe it's avoiding outings altogether, declining invitations, staying home just to be safe. You begin tailoring your life around a secret you don't dare admit to anyone. The simplest pleasures, sitting at a cafe, watching a movie at a theater, visiting friends, become anxiety-ridden calculations. What if there's no restroom nearby? What if you can't make it? What if someone finds out? The humiliation is crushing. Losing control of your bladder, your bowels, it isn't just a physical issue. It's a wound to your pride, an attack on your dignity. It strips away your sense of self, making you feel helpless, childlike. There is nothing more dehumanizing than needing help for something so intimate, something so private. And yet, it happens to so many. At first, you try to manage it alone. You tell yourself you can handle it. But soon, you realize you can't. And that's when the real loss begins. One day, you wake up and realize you can no longer be trusted to sleep through the night without waking up in soaked sheets. The embarrassment of the first time is unbearable, but it is nothing compared to the moment you realize it wasn't a one-time thing. You start setting alarms in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom preemptively, but sleep deprivation wears on you. Eventually, you give in. Disposable bed pads, adult diapers at night, the quiet acceptance that your body is no longer yours to control. And then, the next loss, your mobility. The ability to get up quickly, to rush to the bathroom, to move as freely as you once did, starts to slip away. Maybe it's arthritis, maybe it's weakened muscles, maybe it's just the wear and tear of time. But suddenly, you find yourself hesitating before standing up. The extra few seconds it takes to steady yourself make all the difference between making it and not. And soon, there are more accidents, more moments of shame, more small pieces of your dignity stripped away. And the worst part, the isolation. You start declining invitations, choosing solitude over the risk of embarrassment. You stop visiting family as often, making excuses when friends call. The walls of your home become both your refuge and your prison. The loneliness creeps in, slowly at first, then all at once. You stop seeing yourself as the person you once were, and instead, you become someone who simply manages their decline. But this isn't just about sadness. This isn't just about inconvenience. This is about losing the will to live. Because when you no longer feel like yourself, when you feel like a burden, when you feel like you are merely existing rather than living, you begin to surrender. And that surrender is the most dangerous thing of all. It kills something inside you. It makes you stop trying, stop fighting. It makes you believe that your best days are gone, that the future holds nothing but more losses. And once you believe that, it's almost impossible to come back. If you still have control, if you still wake up and go to the bathroom unassisted, without fear, without planning, without shame, do not take it for granted. Because nothing is guaranteed. The ones who now rely on diapers, on caregivers, on bedpans and scheduled bathroom breaks, once lived with the same certainty you feel now. They once believed this fate belonged to someone else. They thought they had more time. But time is ruthless. It does not ask permission before it takes something from you. One day, without warning, it happens. And when it does, there is no reversal. No second chance. No way to undo what's been lost. So ask yourself now, 5 years from today, will you still have control? Or will you wake up one morning and realize that time has stolen something from you that you can never take back? And if you do nothing to protect your independence now, will you regret it when it's too late? The seventh thing that separates those who truly live from those who merely exist is the ability to have sex. To some, it may seem like a trivial detail, something that fades naturally with time, something that isn't essential. But that belief is a lie, a dangerous, disempowering lie. Intimacy is not just a physical act, it is proof of life. It is evidence that your body still responds, that your vital energy still pulses through you, that passion and pleasure are not just memories of your youth but forces still alive within you. What many don't realize is that the loss of this capacity doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow, creeping erosion. At first, it's just a minor change, an occasional lack of desire, a night where fatigue wins over passion, a performance that isn't quite what it used to be. You tell yourself it's just stress, a bad day, something temporary. But then, the bad days come more often. The desire that once ignited so easily now takes effort to spark. The body no longer reacts the way it used to, and without realizing it, you begin to pull away. The kisses grow less frequent. The touches become brief, routine. The passion that once surged through you like wildfire now flickers weakly, struggling to stay lit. And then the most dangerous thought creeps in. Maybe this is just aging. Maybe this is normal. But is it? Is it normal to stop feeling wanted? Is it normal to let the fire that once burned so fiercely die out completely? Is it normal to go from being lovers to nothing more than roommates, sharing a space but not a connection? The truth is, the loss of sexuality isn't just a physical problem. It's an emotional and relational catastrophe. It is the silent killer of marriages, the slow unraveling of intimacy, the moment when two people who once couldn't keep their hands off each other become nothing more than companions, coexisting in a world where passion is just a distant memory. And the worst part, it doesn't have to be this way. This decline isn't just due to age. It's fueled by neglect, neglecting movement, neglecting health, neglecting the small sparks of intimacy that once came so naturally. It's fueled by poor diet, by sedentary habits, by the slow acceptance of decline. It's fueled by resignation, by the silent surrender to the belief that passion has an expiration date. And then, one day it happens. The desire is gone, not just for a day or a week, but permanently. The body no longer responds. The spark is extinguished. And when that moment comes, regret floods in like a tide that cannot be stopped. If only I had done something sooner. If only I had taken better care of myself. If only I had fought for this part of my life instead of letting it slip away. But by then, it's too late. Because once you stop seeing yourself as a sexual being, once you accept a life without passion, you don't just lose sex, you lose a part of your identity. You lose the thrill of desire, the comfort of a lover's touch, the deep, unspoken bond that intimacy creates. You lose the fire in your soul, the proof that you are still vibrantly, undeniably alive. So if you still feel desire, if you can still give yourself over to pleasure, if you still experience the electric pulse of intimacy, know this: you are holding on to something precious, something that many have already lost. But will it last? In 5 years, will you still have this energy? Will you still feel that hunger for connection? Or will you wake up one morning and realize that time has taken something from you that you can never get back? Time does not warn you before it robs you of your vitality. It does not give second chances. It simply takes. So when it comes to your pleasure, your passion, your ability to feel alive, will you fight for it? Or will you let time steal it away without a battle? We've covered a lot of important information today. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned from this video that you'll apply in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, please leave a comment, give it a like, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on health and well-being. See you in the next video.